everybody, welcome back to day one of ClayShareCon. This is Modern Mishima Inlay with me, Jessica Putnam Phillips. I'm not only a presenter on ClayShare, I am also the founder, and that's true, so I can say that, and I've always wanted to, and now I did. So we're going to be doing this technique, which is an inlay technique, and you'll see the pots before me in various stages of completion. These are done. These have been bisqued, and I got some over there hidden that I'm gonna grab and we'll do the actual carving. So Mishima is an ancient Japanese technique where they would use razor blades to etch very fine lines into the surface of the pottery, and then they would inlay it with usually a slip, which is liquid clay mixed with cobalt, and that would give blue lines. And then those lines would sometimes run a little bit. So you might be familiar with this pottery. Now, after you do your lines, the way that you make it crisp and clear is you would have to scrape away the excess clay, right? That leaves an uneven surface, and unless you're a master at it, it's a little difficult. So I have a modern version. So there are Mishima purists out there who will probably be cringing when they hear me call this Mishima, but that's why it's Modern Mishima. Actually, 6 or 7 years ago, we started calling it Jess Shima, because my name, and we don't have to call it that, but it's a version of this, and I'm going to show you how to do it right now. So, all right. Now, this is a finished one. I'm going to show it to you all. I'm going to put it up here. You can see all of that line work that you see is done as an inlay, and I think it'll actually be much more apparent when you look at it on a big piece like this. All these black lines, so let me put that there and that one there. So every one of these black lines has been incised into the clay and then filled. I use Speedball Black underglaze. You can use any black underglaze. You can use any color underglaze. You could also use your own slip or some slip that you have bought. So this is Speedball's Black underglaze, but that's what I use because it works great, it's affordable, and I didn't have to make it. I can just worry about my designs and use that product. You also might want to use a blue instead of black. I love blue and white pottery, so you might want a blue line instead. I've done it with red. I love red lines on it too. And you could vary it and have lots of different designs. One thing I really like about the Mishima is you can bring your pattern from your side down and into your signature on the bottom. So that's a fun one. So these still have to have their color, and we'll be adding color to these during the watercolor pottery demonstration that's coming up later in the week, not today. And let me just show you this teapot. So this is made with, this one is porcelain right here. And it does have the Mishima inlay, and then I did the watercolor technique to the surface, and you can see the lines on that. And you get these amazing crisp lines. Here's another one, a little different, just the bottom. And then the plate behind me is all done with Mishima inlay. And I have to tell you, when I'm doing these big plates, and I'll pull it off for you to see closer, these plates take hours, about 8 hours to carve. And sadly, I have a failure rate with these big plates at about 50%. So about half of them don't make it through the firings. But every single line on here has been hand drawn, freehand, mind you, etched into the surface. So this one is one I made about 2015, 6 years ago is this one, and this is porcelain. But this is all Mishima inlay. It's crazy. I don't do the Mishima inlay anymore for these type of pieces. I have a different process because I kept losing so many of them. And you can see more of my work on my own personal website, jessicaputnamphillips.com, but we're not about that today. We're about the Mishima. So in my class on ClayShare that I have for this technique, I show you how you can take your own drawings or a drawing you found or an image you found, and how we can trace it and then use that and put it on the clay surface and then etch it. I'm going to go freehand today, but you don't have to. You can use anything you have that inspires you for imagery. And here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. You find an image online that you love and you want to carve it in pottery, You are not stealing somebody else's image, because the act of taking the image, translating it into your own version and carving it into pottery has made it yours. You're just using their image as inspiration. That's why if you see something that is a beautiful photo that someone took of a scene, you can use that scene because yours is not a copy. It'll be inspired by. And that's true just with everything you're going to do in pottery. Because once you translate something from the original, it's no longer the original. Mishima is your favorite thing to do, and your first piece ever was a fishbowl. Oh, about a year ago. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes. So do I use porcelain or can you use 50-50? Okay, so that was porcelain, but this is B-Mix. Which one? This one. This one's on B-Mix. You don't have to use porcelain. But the same as the carving video that I was talking about earlier, in the carving tutorial I just did this morning, you really want to have a smooth clay, really smooth clay. Because if you have grit, grog, sand, anything in there, it's going to get in the way of your lines and cause a little bump. So you won't have as smooth of a surface to carve. So we have one ready to go. I'm going to sit this one to the side. We're going to get our tools out. And you'll see me drinking some water in this broadcast because I've been talking all day and it's starting to catch up with me. So if I don't drink water, I will not be able to speak. All right, I think we'll switch the overhead so I can give you tools and materials.
Check the focus on it real quick.
Sure. Yeah, it's out. There we go.
All right,
Okay. So you need a pot. Can be hand built, can be wheel thrown, can be slip cast, can be extruded. Doesn't matter. You want it to be leather hard. So this is a nice leather hard pot. I threw this on Sunday.
Okay.
And it's Kevin is talking to himself.
Sorry, everyone. Switcher got away from me.
I think he forgets we're doing a live broadcast. So this is one I threw on Sunday. We're going to use that. Now, I use wax for my surface, and you're going to see why. Because we're going to carve the whole thing, and then we're going to inlay, wipe underglaze on the entire surface. I don't want to waste my underglaze. I want it only going in my lines. By waxing, I'm creating a resist, and so it works for that. So you want your wax, water-based wax will do. I really like this Mr. Mark's Wax On. They have other products. They have a wax off. Don't get that. Get the wax on. You don't want the wax off. That's latex. This is wax. So you want this. A little dish to mix it up in. I like these little foam brushes. Some underglaze or slip in any color you want to use. A brush to apply that. I'm using this Japanese calligraphy brush. It's called a Sumi, S-U-M-I brush. Then a little brush for brushing off any crumbs, plastic, little foam to work on, and oh yeah, the carving tool, which will be this. Diamond core tools. I'm keeping them in the case, you see, so I don't lose them, and also because it looks so fancy every time I open it up. I'm using the L3 Diamond Stylus tool, and it's the small football, large football. I know this intimately because I love this. This is my favorite tool. If I was going to get one tool from Diamond Core Tools, like I'm stranded on an island, can't have any other tools, I'm taking this one because you can do just about anything with it. That's my desert island tool. I'll be gripping it everywhere I go, this one. I love it. So we'll be using that. So now I want to do like we did for the carving video before we wax our surface. We're just going to make sure we smooth everything out. Sometimes you gouge a pot with your fingernails. Sometimes when you're trimming, you leave little trim marks. Sometimes if it's a thrown piece, you might have a little slip built up on the inside. You just want to smooth this all down now. And then once you do that, we're going to wax it because you're not going to be able to get to the surface again until you bisque fire, until after you bisque. So if there's a bump there, it'll be there after the bisque and you'll have to sand it out. So I'm going to put some wax. Now, it used to be you had to thin this stuff down and then they changed their formula. Now you don't have to. So it works out well for everybody. And these foam brushes, if you wash out with water after you're done, you can reuse them over and over and over. And I'm putting a thin layer on. I don't know if you can tell. I don't want it really thick and really pink. My voice is going. I'm going to have to learn sign language. Sorry, everybody. Just going to stand here for a minute. Drink water. Kev, will you turn the fan down on the heater?
Yeah.
I think it's blowing too much dust.
This is low as it goes.
Maybe you'll do the voiceover for a minute. I once lost my voice and still did live broadcasts. It was crazy. I just didn't talk. I would just say at the beginning what I was going to do, and I was like, just watch. And that's all. So you have it covered in wax. You're going to sit it to the side and let it dry, usually overnight. And then you can pour the rest of this wax back in your bottle. Yeah, do you have any honey? You want to give me honey?
You want me to go get you some?
Yeah, I'm really going to lose my voice and not be able to speak, and that will be the end of the broadcast. So if we don't fix this. I'm not kidding. My voice is really bad all of a sudden. I don't know if it's the dust from all the carving. It shouldn't be because I carve a lot. I'm not sure what it is. Too much talking. Can you use Amico Wax Resist? Maybe. I need something to soothe my throat is what it is. I've been drinking a lot of water. I need something coating for my throat. So the key with the wax is you've got to have something that will dry not gummy or brittle, because you want to be able to carve through it, but it can't mush and it can't crack. So this one right here is a good one. Amico's, I think, is gummy, if I remember. Forbes wax works okay, and that's the only ones I've tried that have come close. I was coming down with a cold on Monday morning's broadcast, and one of the things for me when I get a cold is I do lose my voice. That's what happens to me. So hopefully that's not happening, because I got 5 more days of broadcast, so I'm be doing it. All right, so I don't think you can tell. Sorry, everybody. But there is wax on the surface of this pot. It's just a very light application. I think Kevin's bringing me some honey in a jar and a spoon of it.
I'm working on it.
That wasn't the one I would have grabbed. That's not the new one, the current user.
Go get a different one.
Yeah, go get a different one. If you have any Halls or cough drops, those would work great too. A throat soothing situation. I know. My body is telling me to slow down. After ClayShareCon, I will be chilling out. So we're going to just push through. Okay. So we have this waxed. The L3 has a small end and a large end. Both work great. Just depends on what size lines you want. So if you want fine little lines, use the fine end. If you want bigger lines, use the big end. So I'm going to, the little grippers, this is brand new. The little grippers don't want to slide. So you have to work them. Maybe they move. So if you can't know how to draw, what can you do? So there is a way with, and I have a class on it, where you use a plastic film that you lay down, that clear plastic film, on top of your drawing or the image you want to use, and you trace it, and then you lay that on your piece, and then you trace it again, and it leaves a little indent all the way around, and you just follow that with your carving. I've taught that in many live broadcasts, and I got a class on it that shows you how to do it. All right, we're just going to soldier on because I don't have time. So I think for the design for this one, it's a really great vase. I'm going to do something a little floral, like we did earlier today. So we're going to start with the small end, and I think I'm going to make these little cloud shapes that I really love to do. And the beautiful thing about Mishima is we have this fantastic reveal that will happen after we inlay it. I forgot my plastic. Thank you. All right, you're going to have to listen to me talk with a cough drop in my mouth, or else I can't talk at all. So you see how I'm using the brush to clean it out so that I can see my lines. I put my little tool. Soldier on, that's exactly right. Unless I'm dead, I'm not stopping. That's pretty much my motto. But I think between broadcasts, I might run in and make a cup of tea with some honey. Until then, I'll be just eating cough drop after cough drop. Hope you brought the whole bag.
I brought as many as Riley would let me have.
No, tell her Mom can't talk and she's doing a live broadcast. How could my child's like, no, Mom, sorry. Kids, I tell you. So we have this really great pattern we just made. So now I can do something fun in here, right? So I am going to do some flowers. So this is like a little framework that I've just created for this wild rose, I call it. This pattern here. And if you can't really see the lines, don't worry. You won't be able to see them very well until we do the inlay. Oh, so for those who want to know where to find the Mr. Marks Wax On, Sheffield Pottery has it, I'm pretty sure. And you can also get it from the ceramic shop. They carry it. I usually get mine from Sheffield Pottery because they do free shipping. So we're doing this rose in here. I'm going to do another rose over here. But I think I'm not going to show you because I want to have time to get to the rest of it. But just giving you the idea, right? We have this outline. It makes my voice sound so weird when I eat a cough drop.
You're doing fine.
But we have the bottom too that we have to take care of. And since I already started with this sort of cloud pattern, I'm going to replicate that here on the bottom in between. So do you see the balance I'm creating? I'm always thinking about the shape and composition. So I got here and here, but then on the bottom there'll be one here and here. There's a tea you do when you're under the weather. Mint tea, 1 cinnamon stick, honey, and lemon. Wendy, I will do that after. I have all of that. I also have some echinacea tea, which I might drink anyways. And I better start getting back on boosting my vitamin C, I think. Especially because I'm having surgery next week. So I end ClayShareCon, and then I have 3 days, which we're trying to finish moving, and then surgery. And then I'll take a couple days off. Just till Saturday, because we have Amy Williams' workshop, which is a really great surface decoration workshop. So I've laid out my framework for the design that I want to do. And I'm going to fill each one of these. Think of it as a mini picture frame, right? So each one will be filled in. The Sounding Stone in Canada carries Mr. Marks. Okay, good. So there, for those of you in Canada, you can go there. Now, I'm just going to do this little abstract pattern in the empty spaces. Should I fill those in? I think I'm going to wait to fill those in, and we're going to do the rest of the pot. Now, I'm going to have these highly detailed frames in here, so I think the rest of the pot is going to be, I think I'm going to do this. I wasn't sure if I was going to, sometimes I like to do these little, almost half a daisy on the top here. So I need to put those in. Do you see what I was talking about? If you were with me this morning when we did the carving demo, I was talking to you all about how the P1 is a great carving tool for straight or slightly curving lines. But if you want something that can really curve, this is the tool for you. This is what you want because it curves like crazy. So now that I've done that, I'm going to do some swirls. And that will just fill up the space because I don't want to leave it empty. We were talking about that earlier as well. You know, you can leave it empty if you want. Some people want that empty space, the quietness of it. It's not a bad thing. It's just a different design. And so if you're someone who really likes the quiet spaces, then you might not want to fill the entire thing up like I like to do. There's a term called Hora Vakui, which those of us in my Greek art history class, we loved it because it's the fear of well, basically a vacuum, but empty spaces is what it means. And that a lot of ancient Greek pottery, Minoan pottery, would be so highly decorated. Every single space, every surface had something going on in it. And your eye didn't really have a place to stop and rest. It just kept going from place to place. So we've got all these little swirly whirlies in here. And I think I have more time than I thought. Even though we have to do our inlay and white back, that doesn't take any time at all. That's super fast. So let's do a couple other floral patterns. I'm going to do like a little daisy here, this one, and then maybe I'll do something kind of like a cherry blossom. I don't know. These are just random flowers. The cough drop helped immensely. Much better. Thank you, Kev.
You're welcome.
And then what I was talking about, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, I'm basically going to do little figure eights, wiggly figure eights, to fill in this area in here. And if you've ever done quilting, it's similar to what you do sometimes. There's I wouldn't call it a zigzag stitch. I don't do quilting. I want to in my free time, as abundant as it is. That's my dry sense of humor coming out. So, you know, a piece like this, we can get as detailed as we want. And we're just laying down the lines. And you can do this on plates. When I do wedding plates or anniversary plates, I do it with this technique because you're able to draw such a detailed image. Free time, I know. That I cannot leave an empty space, I know. I know, I try, but I love surface. I love decoration. I love pattern. I don't know if you're familiar with the artist. She's a ceramic artist. She's recently passed on. Her name is Betty Woodman. But she was very similar in the respect that she loves pattern, loved surface decoration, and did some amazing work. So if you're looking for inspirational potters, look up Betty Woodman. And give you some others if you really want to see some interesting surface. There's Grayson Perry. He's in the UK. He's pretty fabulous. And here in the US, we have Roberto Lugo. Rob and I are friends, and he does, I've shown in exhibitions with him, he does some really, really great surfaces too. Very powerful work that he's creating. So, you know, there's so many artists out there that love the surface, but then, you know, there's others making pieces that are very, you know, I think Adam Field would be one where his work has a quiet beauty to it. It's intricate. It's very well done, but I would never call it busy or highly decorated, and that's not an insult to Adam. His work is amazing. It's just different. The number of the tool in the name, I don't mind at all. So this right here is an L3 diamond stylus tool from Diamond Core Tools. So did I get all my little lines in? I did. So I've got 2 more places to do. We're going to do another rose, I think, on this one. And I do have a couple drawing classes on Clayshare. They're not drawing as in I want to be an amazing illustrator. They're not for that. They're for people who want to draw simple things to put on their pottery. Basically, it's drawing for potters. And I teach some floral designs. I've got leaves. In all of those drawing classes, the reason I have them is because I want you all to be able to learn to do basic line drawing, and then that way you can put them on your pots. That's the reason. So once you can draw everything I'm doing here with my hand, all the carving I'm doing, it's the same as if I was sitting down with a piece of paper. Exactly the same, except I'm doing it on a pot. Yeah, Adam's workshop was wonderful. You know, that's the perfect chance for me to talk about the fact that on Clayshare, not only do we have hundreds of classes, we also do workshops. And Adam Field did a really great workshop. We had Doug Peltzman do one with us. That was fabulous as well. We have one with Drew Seymour about practical glaze chemistry, so if you want to know more about glazes. Amy Williams has her surface one I mentioned earlier coming up on the 6th. Maria Sampson is going to do one that's whimsical garden stacks, which kind of ties in with Michael's puzzling, his really great making the, what was his called? I want to get it right. The Fundamentals of Clay Puzzling, which sounds really deep and a little scary, but it was actually fabulous. Sparked a lot of ideas for me. And so her workshop, and then we have a few other people coming on board I've reached out to, so I don't have firm dates for some of the others, but you know, everything goes up on Clayshare as it comes along. All right, so I'm going to finish this up. I really want to show you some of how it's going to look with the inlay. So it's a 2-step decorative process how I do it. I'm doing the carving now, and basically I call this my line work. So I'm getting that done now, but I'll have to come back in after it's bisque fired because they'll look, you know, like this piece or this cherry blossom one, which I've got to finish up. And I have about 10 vases that I've carved over the last few months that I've been doing it in secret and hiding them away. So kind of for this, but also I'm trying to get a glaze kiln of them soon. And I'll show you how I finish them. And I have to tell you that I'm really, really, I don't know, the more I carve, the more I love it. I once thought I would get tired doing the same thing for 20 years. It hasn't happened yet.
Question for you.
Yeah, I got answers, obviously. I can't stop talking.
Nancy would like to know about the way that you hold the tool in your hand.
So everybody can hold their tool however is comfortable for you. I grip it like this. I mean, some people might hold it like this. I also draw like this. And so that's just my own personal preference. I'm probably choked up on it a little more than I need to be. And that's just how I am. I really firmly grasp things. That's probably why I have carpal tunnel so bad, is my gripping of tools from carving. But, you know, I'm also resting my hand on the piece as I work so that I am trying to give it a little support. So my hand's not out here and I'm not coming at it like this. because if you work that way, you have no support and you will strain your hands. Normally, I would carve this just like I carve my regular carved pieces. I would sit down, this foam would be in my lap, I would hold the piece, and it would be about right here for me, and I would have it in a position that's a little more comfortable than standing like I am right now. We'll go this way with this one. I hope so too, Wendy. They're doing my right hand. We talked about it. We decided to do the right hand on next Thursday, and then 2 months after we'll do the left hand. So they'll both be done. Like, I have brand new hands. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sign the bottom, and I'm going to use the same technique that I'm doing right now, and I'm going to carve my name. I've had a few people over the years say, why bother? Why put so much work into carving your name on the bottom? And the way I look at it is, one, whoever owns this piece is going to turn it over and have this beautiful carved bottom, so why not give that to them? Two, I want my name to be noticeable because I'm proud of what I've done. And why stop at the body? Why not continue the pattern over to the bottom, right? And so I usually try to do something different every time when I carve my name, so it's not the same exact thing. I don't always carve my name, but when I make, I don't always carve my name, but when I do, I use a Diamond Core Tools L3. No, I don't always carve my name, but when I do, I want to make sure it's legible, and the fact that it's a little different. I don't want it to be the same every time. So it happens when you get silly. All right, so we've got a little pot carved. This is a bud vase. This isn't a big thing. This is a small thing. Took me about 20 minutes to carve. It's for me, it's a simple design. I have ones that are much more intricate, but I want to move on because we need to do the inlay part. Oh, right, and I was seeing some questions about our workshops. So ClayShare, you can watch a whole bunch of stuff for free on ClayShare, but we do have premium membership, which gives you thousands of videos and access to our private broadcasts, which we do 2 a week. And it gives you great discounts, one of those being 20% off all our workshops. And anybody who wants to take a workshop on ClayShare, if you sign up for one, you get access to that workshop forever. So it's not, oh, I bought a workshop of yours and I only can watch it for 2 weeks. No, you get to watch that workshop until eternity. As long as society and internet exists, you can watch a workshop. So this is Speedball Black Underglaze. I'm going to mix it about 60-30, 65-35 water to underglaze, because you want the underglaze to not be so thick it doesn't go down in the lines we just drew. Let's see how this is. This looks pretty good, but you don't want it too runny either. So maybe we'll change our ratio to 25-75. It depends. And the reason it depends is sometimes you get an underglaze that's really thin, so you don't need to add as much water. Sometimes you get an underglaze that's really thick, and you got to add more water. So I can't give you an exact ratio. I always like to compare things to foods. I'm not sure what we would consider this right now. It's really runny. It's thick ink, maybe thicker. Okay, so we're gonna grab our pot. I'm gonna make sure that there's no dust in there, and we're gonna start. And I like to start with the bottom. And we're just gonna wipe this in. Now, you'll notice how the underglaze pulls away. That's what we want. This is why we put the wax on. The wax does a couple things for us. One, it creates that resist and forces the underglaze to go in the lines instead of just sitting on the surface. The other thing it does is it bonds to the clay, so as we are carving, it helps keep those clay particles together a little more than they normally would if you didn't use the wax, so that there's less dust in the air. It's still not creating a completely dust-free environment. That's why I run an air cleaner in my studio, but it really, really helps. So we're going to brush this all on. And then we have magic time. That's our big reveal. One of your favorite things is signing your pieces. You love carving your signature and making it easy to read. You also embellish it with designs. Yeah, so, yeah, and people will say to me, you know, I was washing the dishes the other night, and just doing the dishes, and you're at the sink, and then you get to the piece that I made, and you're washing it, and then you turn it over, and you're like, oh, that's nice, because you forget, right? You get used to pots and dishes to not have anything nice in the bottom, and then when you get one that does, it's like, ooh. So, Terry, you had both your wrists done too. Yeah, they told me wait 8 weeks in between, and so it'll be good. I'll have to take some mandatory downtime. I haven't had downtime in 4 years. All right, how many? Oh, 10? That's forever. He tells me there's 10 minutes left, like I have to hurry up. 9. A vinaigrette consistency, a little thicker than a vinaigrette though. One little thing also, and I don't know if I didn't do it on the one I was waxing earlier because I was losing my voice, which thank goodness, and due to a cough drop has recovered. I waxed the inside right here because as I'm touching the piece, I might touch the underglaze and then accidentally touch in here, and I don't want to put little black smudges in here. So that's why I did that. So let's start on the bottom. This is where most people have trouble. I'm dipping it in water, but I'm squeezing it out till this sponge is almost as dry as possible. Like it's the driest possible sponge that you could have that still has water in it. And then you wipe. And you want to make sure when you wipe, you don't go over the same area more than once. You really want a one and done if you can. And you saw how long I waited. I mean, really, normally, I would wait till the sheen was just off it, and I can see one area that I gotta bloop, touch up. And the great thing about this technique too is after we wipe this all back and we just have our lovely lines, if I want to go back in and carve more, I can. If I missed filling an area, I can easily fill that area and wipe it back. It won't be any problem. Like whole milk. Yeah, I guess it's like whole milk. That's a good analogy. All right. Are you ready?
Kathy said it's Cosmo.
It's Cosmo.
Consistency of Cosmo.
The consistency of Cosmo. Yes, because Jess needs Cosmos today, right? That would be great to add that to today. I am going to do a little broadcast during ClayShareCon on how to make a Cosmo. I will do the bartender thing. And I'll teach you all how to make a Cosmo, or at least how I make my Cosmos. And they're not the same way as most people because I make them kind of sweet. All right, ready? So we're going to start. I'm going to start at the top and I'm just going to wipe. And I'm turning my sponge to a clean area every time. And then you'll rinse again. You want to keep making sure that the sponge is not too wet and that it's clean. And you shouldn't have to scrub in. If you're pressing really hard and you scrub in there, you'll actually pull it out of your lines. And you don't want to do that. And I see an area here where I have to go back and I have to add a little more black. It's not a problem. What you want to do though is let it set for about 10 minutes so that the surface moisture that we're putting into it has dissipated. Like half and half. There you go. Somewhere between whole milk and half for the consistency. Now I always love wiping it back because when I'm teaching this technique, it's really hard to see the design until we do the inlay. Once we do the inlay, you can see it. Let me just check. So I've got a few places I have to go back in and put a little dab of black in there and then wipe it back again. I will do that, but you don't want to do it right now. Because we just saturated the surface with water, if we try to put black in there, the clay cannot absorb the black because it's full of water. So you got to let it set for 10-15 minutes, depending on your studio, and you'll be able to go back in and take care of that. So let's roll to the front so I can show the awesome finished piece. And ta-da! So here we have it. And you can see the areas where I got to add a little black. You can see that little light spot. It's not a big deal. You know, when I'm carving on camera, oftentimes I don't hold the pieces the way I would normally hold it for my own comfort and ease of seeing what's going on. So what happens is I miss spots when I'm doing something like the black. So I'll go back and I'll fix that after. Now, this piece, it doesn't have any handles. It doesn't have anything added to it. At this point, I could just sit it on the shelf and let it dry, unless your studio is really, really, really dry. Then you might want to cover it lightly, but you don't really have to. And all the surface work's done. And then we bisque fire it, and you end up with something like this once it's bisqued. So you still see all the lines that we have in there. And then we have to add our color, which I do using Speedball underglaze, but you can use any underglaze, and then a clear glaze on top. And I'll teach you how to do that later. I'm not sure what day we're doing watercolor pottery. I think that is Saturday, maybe? I'll have to check. Or Sunday. Go check the schedule on claysharecon.com. You can find out. So on dark clay, you could use a light underglaze, yes. So what makes this work really well is our contrast that we have. We're using a light clay body and a dark underglaze. If you're using a dark clay, use white or yellow or any really light colored underglaze, and you're going to get really nice contrast, great pattern, and it will look spectacular. There are other options. We could have put underglaze on the entire thing first, then waxed it, then carved through that, right? So that's a completely possible thing to get a background color in there. And we didn't do that. I'll save that for another tutorial because we need something else to do. Can't do it all here. All right, so that pretty much wrapped it up. I will show you all how to do the color in a few days. So you have a quick question. Studio tours end up on the schedule, or do we find them somewhere else in the breaks? Kev has that information, and he will be putting it up. Yesterday, our web host decided to do a server migration without notifying us and crashed our site the day before ClayShareCon. So poor Kev is 12 hours behind, and he's hardly slept. So he's working like crazy to get that updated, but those will go up. If there were ones that were going to happen today that didn't happen, they're going to get rearranged, and he's going to be working on that schedule this evening, and you'll get to see those in the breaks. They're coming. Today got a little messed up. We're going to try to see if we can get Sharon somehow back on. She's having technical difficulty on her end. But we'll try again to get her back. So there we go. Awesomeness right here. So we are done with the Mishima. Next we have Jeff from GR Pottery Forms. Oh my goodness. I almost was overcome for a second when I just realized what's coming up next. It's the 3-tiered stands, and I have the hardware. I'm going to be watching. I might even get some clay and make along because I want to know how to make 3-tiered stands. You know, fancy 3-tiered stands. Jeff from GR Pottery Forms is doing that next. That is going to be happening at 3 o'clock, and then I will be back at 4:15 for the bling. Y'all want some bling? Yes, you do. We're going to do lusters. So I will see you all then. Thanks, everybody. Bye.